Hello, everyone. I am Shalini Goyal Bhalla, Managing Director at International Council for Circular Economy. I welcome you all today to the third episode of Season 6 of The Circular Chat. As we talk in this season about action and impact, we have with us today Ms. Tejashree Joshi, who is the Head of Environment Sustainability at Godrej and Boyce. Ms. Tejashree
Hello.
has over 20 years of experience working right through the journey from crafting the sustainability initiatives till date with Godrej, where she has an extensive experience in corporate environmental sustainability, strategy development and deployment, corporate environmental and legal compliances, environmental project design and implementation, operational management of pollution control systems, biodiversity conservation and management, sustainability reporting and communication. So welcome, Ms. Tejashree Joshi. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shalini, for having me on this chat.
Tejashree, I see 20 years of crafting sustainability initiatives and creating impact through one of the biggest companies, Godrej and Boyce in India. So first of all, congratulations for that. And I'm sure it's a long journey that you have come through. And I'm pretty confident that today we are going to gain a lot of insights from your experience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your sustainability report with us. And when I was going through your sustainability report, the first thing that struck me, Tejashree, was the foundational enablers. So this is a very catchy term, and I would like to know more about what are the initiatives and how Godrej calls it as an enabler right from the foundation.
Right. Yes. So the Godrej Enterprise Group, I'm sure most of our listeners would be knowing that this brand actually started in 1897. And since its foundation, it has been deeply rooted in pioneering progress, driven by an unwavering commitment to our people, our nation, and our planet. So this sense of purpose has made brand Godrej unique in terms of being trusted and a trusted choice generations after generations. Basically, I think the brand's strength lies in balancing the rich legacy with a bold vision for the future, thus setting the stage for our continual success in the years to come. And all of this is based on a very strong foundation of doing every aspect of our business which is sustainable for with respect to the environment and the ecology around us and the communities that we operate in, along with the people that we interact with, not only our employees, but the entire stakeholder community with whom the brand has an interaction. So, looking at what foundations this has been set on, if you look at our values that the organization cherishes, one of the identified and stated value has always been environmental stewardship. So bringing that upfront in the value of an organization with the commitment that everything that the organization will do will always look at its basis, the impact that it is going to have on the environment, and take every effort through every means of technology, frameworks, design, innovation, uh, engineering solutions to see how we basically reduce the negative impacts and create more positive kind of an impact on the society and environment. So I think rooting it in the values and the purpose of the organization has been the real foundation for the company in terms of moving on this journey right from its inception. And I think that's very evidently demonstrated in the way the organizations, the headquartered set up in Vikhroli in Mumbai, has been developed over the last around 8 decades. It's a true example of how industry can symbiotically coexist with nature. And we have, I think, very successfully demonstrated that while an industry thrives, so does a forest alongside it, and not at one at the cost of other. So, in fact, complementing and supporting each in its own endeavor. So, it's not only been stated as a value or in the purpose of the organization, but it's also demonstrated amply through its actions. And basis there are many pioneering environmental sustainability initiatives that the organization has in fact introduced to the Indian markets. And one of the example I can say is on introducing the whole concept of green building in India. So if you would be aware, the first green building in India in Hyderabad, the CII Sorabji Godrej Green Business Center, was funded and set up by the Godrej Enterprise Group, the erstwhile Godrej and Boyce Manufacturing Company Limited, and in coordination or in with support from the Andhra Pradesh government. And it was the first and the most greenest building at that point of time in the world. That actually introduced a kind of a movement in India. And today, if you see, India has the second largest built footprint of green spaces. So next, just to the United States, where this concept, from where we adopted this concept, and I think it wouldn't be another a year or two when we would actually surpass the United States and be one of the largest green building footprints in the world. So these kind of pioneering ideas or thoughts on sustainability has been in the DNA of the organization in all the businesses that we endeavor to undertake. And that's come from the foundational focus on being always conscious of what impacts we have through our actions on the environment.
That's wonderful to know, Tejashree, because if you look at most of the impact coming, I think CSR was a strategy that came up 10 years back, and that's when most of the entities look at um, delivering sustainability on ground while we make economic benefit, also looking at the environment sustainability. But at the same time, there are many entities that are working not beyond for the regulation, but beyond the regulation on meeting their uh, uh, goals in greening or environment or society. And it's good to see that a company like Godrej and Boyce, which you said established in 1897, I think this is, even I don't know that number. So, it's really wonderful to see that the work has been happening towards pro-planet people and pro-planet for a very long time. And so when Godrej, when we talk about it, I think it's a name that every family would know in India. We have one or the other products from Godrej. We have always, each family must have owned at least one product from Godrej, if not more. And so when I was reading the report, what came to my mind and what came to my notice was also the good and green products that you have mentioned. While the green products may seem to be a very new concept, the Godrej is talking about it for quite some time now. What are these green products, and what is the objective of what kind of impact are you looking through these kind of products?
So before I come to green products, I would just like to very briefly touch upon from where has this come. So while I mentioned that as a group, as a company, we have been pioneering a lot of environmental sustainable initiatives in industrial spaces. Uh, the the thought of systemizing our efforts and mainstreaming sustainability in our business decisions uh, came somewhere around 2008, 2007, 2008. And the whole group started working on crafting the framework for sustainability. Um, so when we did that, we also looked at what are those indicators which are material to us with respect to all our business units, and what are those touch points where we are having the maximum impact. So it was a bottoms up kind of an exercise where all the group companies and sub business units were engaged in discussing and crafting out what are those areas that we wanted as an organization to focus on under our sustainability framework, which then evolved into largely three buckets of actions. One was obviously making our own processes, our establishments, our factories green. So we look at end-to-end manufacturing processes along with the entire infrastructure that we have for manufacturing and making it green. And that's where came, the green buildings, the green factories, the green campuses initiative, and moving towards green manufacturing in terms of processes. So we looked at indicators like energy efficiency, water efficiency, waste reduction, material use optimization, diverting waste going to landfill, taking ownership of our entire footprint, and seeing how do we mitigate and reduce that, bring in more efficiencies on each of the indicators. And that's where was the first bucket that we choose, and we named it Greener India. Because we have manufacturing footprints across India, the endeavor was to make, all our footprints follow this sustainability principles and take very, very specific target-based approach in terms of reducing our impacts or improving our efficiencies. And under Greener India, we had this 7 or 8 indicators on various resource efficiencies, like I mentioned, water, energy, waste, renewable energy, carbon, and also looking at, the circularity and material efficiency. The next focus area came out to be, which is on the social aspect under the CSR, is on the skill development. So this is where was a important area where we wanted to create a difference in terms of building skills for youth who were underprivileged and did not have an access to formal trainings or recognition of their skills. And that's where our program on employability came, which probably we can speak about a little later, through which was crafted our Disha program, which was on skill building. And the third and the most important, and I may not say, but all three were important for us, but this is very important and unique because, sustainability to be mainstreamed in the business, to make it as a priority for a business or one of the imperative, was to see how your business outcomes are related to sustainability. And that's where the thought of having certain percentage of your revenues coming from products which were green or which were good for the society. And that's where the whole crafting of good and green products came up. And that was our third vertical to focus on, to make our products more sustainable for environment and social point of view. And when we look at the product, you look at the entire life cycle of the product and see that how it is more environmentally sensitive, sustainable, and having minimal impact. Looking at a design for environment concept for each of our product design, looking at the life cycle assessment concept, identifying those hotspots that the product has in terms of its life cycle on various indicators of environment, and build a strategy to mitigate those impacts and create products which are green. So we laid down criteria to define a green product. For example, a product when it's manufacturing has consumed at least 20% of lesser energy for its manufacturing, or lesser water, or has completely eliminated toxicity. Um, does not have carbon emissions during its use phase, so on and so forth. We defined certain criteria to define a product to be green. But not only that, we also have insisted that wherever feasible, and most of our products should have a third-party green product certification, so that it's a independently validated claim that a product is a green product. And likewise, for the decade from 2010 to 2020, when we first crafted our good and green strategy for the decade, we had a target of achieving at least 33% of our product revenues coming from good and green products. And I'm very happy to share that we exceeded that number. And now that we have crafted our goals for the next decade by FY32, we intend that at least 50% of our revenues from our entire revenue basket has to come from products which are good and green. Now, when I talk about good products, they are products which help the nation building, which helps the priority sectors of the country in terms of its developmental aspects, like, for example, green energy, for example, elevating poverty, health, education, uh, uh, all our products which support these nation building endeavors would be categorized as good products. And we've also defined criteria for those who align with the SDGs, who support the nation building priority areas, so on and so forth. And we have defined our green products in terms of how I mentioned to you just a while back. And so the whole endeavor is to reach this 50% by each of our business units. Under Godrej Enterprise Group, we have 14 different business units, right from manufacturing of locks to supplying components to India's space program, the infrastructure in terms of real estate, energy systems, etc. But all of this, every business of ours follows this good and green principles for all its manufacturing and service activities, and endeavor to achieve this by the end of the decade that we have planned.
Wonderful, Tejashree. This is really astonishing to see how you've been working on several indicators already to define your own good and green products. While we are looking at so many frameworks globally and also in India, Godrej has been already working on its own indicators to define what is good and green is a remarkable achievement and something very unique that I have come across. You did mention about taking care of greener India, which is something that we are talking now. You also talked about realizing the need for skill development as you progressed. And somewhere you also have mentioned that in your sustainability report about the sustainable supply chains and stakeholder engagement, which again, as I come, is kind of a far-sighted view of going more sustainable. Very nice to see that you have also mentioned about materiality, and today you also spoke about materiality. And 50% of revenue generation from good and green products, I think it's a very ambitious and a very good target. But looking at this target and the entire stakeholder engagement, could you take us through the process that may be needed by Godrej in the coming next 5 years, and how do you see that happening?
Yes, I think as we progress today, where we stand on sustainability, not only us as an organization, but largely the whole sustainability space is now going beyond your boundaries. So it's not enough to take initiatives on sustainability within your control areas of manufacturing, which we do through our Greener India endeavor and which will continue. But I think under the Greener India now, our decade, for the next decade, we have taken an ambitious target that at least 80% of our domestic purchase, by our domestic purchase value or buy value, are suppliers who are contributing to that. We will take them on the journey of sustainability towards making them Green Co certified vendors. Now, if you know about the Green Co framework, which is a green company framework, which looks at end-to-end business operations and see how those can adopt environmental sustainability in its endeavors. And while we as an organization also have mandated that all our locations, all our business units should be getting itself certified for Green Co. We are also endeavoring that our major suppliers who contribute at least 80% of our revenues, of our purchase value, by the end of the decade should have adopted the Green Co framework. So it's not just ourselves, the whole ecosystem that we are working in, our partners in our business also need to upgrade themselves to the sustainability standards that we want to follow as an organization. And as a large corporate, I think it's our responsibility to take ownership of that footprint and also motivate, help, handhold, and upskill our vendors and partners to understand the various nuances of sustainability, various aspects. What are those indicators which are important for them, or as we call as material indicators for them, and start taking action on that so that collectively we are multiplying our efforts on the impacts, reduction of impacts on various sustainable environmental indicators. And while doing that, capacity building is a very important aspect in
Yeah.
terms of suppliers. While we have large suppliers and large corporates as also as our suppliers who are also on their own evolved, it's really the small, medium, and micro suppliers who are working with us and partners whom we need to handhold, take them along with us, do that capacity building, motivate them to adopt this same path that we are already transversing on, and then, see how we collectively contribute towards making it more meaningful. In that endeavor, I think the benefit that the suppliers basically have and they see through is their own capability of acquiring larger businesses because of the sustainability practices they are following, particularly if they are aiming to go global in terms of exports, or serving customers or clients who are multinationals, so on and so forth. That capacity building actually helps them scale up, and we have good examples where our vendors have grown to that aspect. So that's very much our focus area now going ahead. And while doing that, you can't start everything all together. It has to be taken into very measured and strategic steps. So looking at the entire vendor base, looking at people who are already evolved or very much enthusiastic to take on the journey, creating those use cases or examples of success stories, basically to motivate others and other suppliers, is a very important kind of a lever that we use. The second aspect that we actually look at is how can we drive this through cluster programs. So our various businesses do have vendor clusters as their component suppliers or material suppliers, and we try and work with those clusters together on this journey. So we have other cluster programs like the quality or TQM cluster programs, etc. And now we are also introducing sustainability in those cluster programs. So collectively people learn. There are examples, there are cross learnings which happen, good case studies which are shared across and can be easily adopted and cross deployed. And that's how, in lesser effort, you can actually educate more people. And that also motivates, and there's a kind of a competition then, again, amongst the supplier base, that how do I do better? And that really helps everybody in the whole ecosystem in the bargain. So there are various approaches we have adapted basis the business that we look at. And as I said, we have 14 businesses, very diverse businesses. So each business has its own nuances and approaches, but the whole goal remains the same. The end goal by the end of the decade, we have to reach there. And each business plans its journey. We have done that planning for each of our businesses, and we know by which year where we would be reaching, so that at least the endeavor is to that we reach our target at least 2 or 3 years prior to what we have planned, and then see and sustain how that is done. And that also will be helped through building our supply chain, or I would say sustainable procurement policy, in which at certain point of time, you will start onboarding partners who are like-minded and who would either have adopted this approach or willing to adopt that approach as soon as they start working with us. So it's both. We want to work with all our existing vendor base, upgrade them to the level where they progress on this. At the same time, now in future, probably start partnering or prioritizing partnering with vendors who are more aligned to this thinking on sustainability.
Very nice, Tejashree. I think you mentioned three very important things. One, you talked about the capacity building of the stakeholders, which is extremely important because Indian MSME also could mean one or two people sitting in one room and developing something, which needs hand-holding by the large corporates to make a transition. Then you spoke about the cluster management, which is a wonderful kind of a way to uh, deliver cost-effective trainings to the larger number of people and also get a larger supply of greener products. When you talk about making your 80% suppliers transitioning or getting the Green Co certification, that will not happen if you go one by one to each stakeholder. I think the cluster approach there is very significant. Last but not least, I think you spoke about the most important thing, which is the sustainable procurement, because unless the company has a policy of sustainable procurement at a large way, I think it does not make the bottom up approach to change the way they are operating. And this is certainly when someone sees a push, I think the competitive advantage of being greener is understood more when they have some kind of procurement policy being looked after by large corporates like you. So I believe this is a wonderful three-pronged strategy that you've taken, and it will have its own impact going from here in the next 5 years. I also see that large corporates like you will not be able to function unless they talk about digitization. You have also mentioned about the cross-functional changes that you want, and that could be happening through digitization. Could you share something about how Godrej looks at digitization as one of the important pillars for such kind of transformation?
Yes, I think digitization and technology evolution is going to be key levers in terms of, driving sustainability. And one aspect on sustainability is data and visibility. You know, I think digital solutions in terms of IoTs, in terms of real-time data availability, monitoring, visibility on performances of various, what you say as machineries, infrastructure, all those areas where it matters in terms of, really delivering performance on ground. Unless you have a very clear visibility of that, it's really difficult for managers, it's really difficult for strategists to build strategy and deliver on ground. Otherwise it all remains on paper, and that's not what actually is what our endeavor is. So using technology to get that visibility is the first thing that we have deployed. Smart sensors in terms of which are IoT based, which are data assimilators, data interpretation, and giving you insights on how systems are functioning, gives us that very quick understanding of where is the action required, where are the losses happening, where is it that you need to plug in, where is it that you want to improve your performances. These are insights which help us to take programs, and these are continuous. You can never say that I have done all the things and now it should give me. It is always an iterative and continuous process,
Yeah.
because machines keep getting old, and you keep needing to replace them basis this performances and so on and so forth. So technology not only helps us identify that, build that data, and have a visibility, it also helps us in understanding how are our systems which we have deployed for sustainability performing. For example, I have a sewage treatment plant or a wastewater recycling plant. Through technology, through energy meters, through various data indicators, I can look at the performance of the system, because it is also important that your systems are running in an optimized manner uh, to the levels of performance that you have deployed them for, because those are investments that an organization is making in for sustainability. So it is also important that you keep maintaining those systems to its optimal delivery. For example, there are renewable energy solar panels. Today you have panels which come with sensors. Each and every panel has a sensor which gives you a dashboard visibility of which panel is working at what point of time, which is not working, and you can find out each and every panel if it is not working and what are the reasons. Is there a shade on the panels which are coming because of the nearby, say, trees, and you need to really trim those branches so that the sun exposure is better. All that comes on your screen, which helps anybody to take very quick decisions and identify those drops in performances which you would see and which probably would take much longer time without technology being there. So I think at every the minuscule of things in terms of pressure drop in the water line or leakages can be identified very quickly on the dashboards, and you avoid that important resources getting wasted for a long period of times. So technology today is going to be the basically, I think, going to be the basis on which you can actually forward the whole sustainability endeavor or impact, I would say. uh, a lot of this is basically also helping us in making our manufacturings more efficient and effective. Now once you start making your systems effective, losses come down, and it all translates into resource efficiency, time loss, energy conservation. Lot of losses are saved because of this. And so this is very important for any organization basically to drive a sustainability journey in their processes. But it is also important to keep looking at evolving technologies. Today, the whole technology space in terms of energy, in terms of uh, water efficiencies, material resources, packaging, all of these are evolving so fast. So organization needs to be on its toes in terms of exploring new technology, new advancement on in the engineering fronts, in all of these aspects, and see how quickly you can adopt them, and which is most suitable for the organization and its applications, to keep moving, pushing the envelope on sustainability for each of these indicators, so it's never a journey which you have done, or it's always a continuous process. I think sustainability is never ending journey, and that's the fun about it. You keep doing new things. But also, I would just like to caution that every time you make a choice of technology, you should do it very, very consciously, looking at the technology's impact on environment, cross-checking it with what you are substituting it, and life cycle assessment plays a very important part in all of this. Make a very, very uh, you know a visual comparison between what you have today and what you want to change over to, and if it is making sense in terms of its impacts, really, only then I think you should go, not just because there is a technology which has come in the market and it's a buzzword that everybody's adopting it. I don't think that should be the approach. It should be looking at the technology's impact also, which is very important. We shouldn't lose of the sight that we are doing all of this to look at the end goal of minimizing our environmental footprint. So without losing that sight, we need to adopt technology as well.
Very well said, Tejashree. I think this is remarkable that you mentioned the last point. Look at the technology footprint as well, not just adapt technology for the sake of adopting it. But then you did mention about continuously adopting to the technology advancements because it's a journey. And we see every day there is a new technology in making. Today we are talking about AI and further enhancements in AI. We talked about IoT, and all these technologies does enable organizations, but how much of it is needed and what is the footprint along with the technology is extremely important. You did mention about the LCA as well, and I think that's very important topic. We cannot take that topic today because LCA by itself is a very lengthy topic and maybe needs a separate session on the life cycle assessment of the products that or the byproducts that we are kind of trying to use, our raw material, what we are kind of using. But briefly, I think last question, Tejashree, is also about the impact through the corporate social responsibility. And CSR, through the CSR, Godrej has been doing something called Program Disha. What that program is all about and what impact does that program look at is something that I would be taking up as my concluding question today.
So I mentioned to you that employability came out as one of the important indicators for us on sustainability, which was on a social sustainability. Um, Along with that, I would just like to mention, a few years down the line, as we started this journey, we also adopted the fourth pillar on our good and green journey, which was of community development. So basically, wherever we have our footprints of manufacturing, we take a holistic approach on community development along with our business development in that area, looking at the stated and unstated needs of the community, and then doing meaningful interventions, primarily on the principles of addressing the gap areas and gap funding kind of a principle, where the ownership basically lies with the community through village panchayats, through SSG groups, and so on and so forth. And look at focus areas on where we want to have these interventions. It could be health, it could be education, it could be sanitation, it could be water, drinking water supply or good water supply, water harvesting, or environment in terms of afforestation. And there are various intervention areas. But while we were doing good and green, the need that if you have to have intervention which is meaningful for the company's businesses, it should be in terms of how do you make your product serviceable after they are in the market, and how do you build that ecosystem. And while you build that ecosystem, can you actually help those sections of the society who have remained underprivileged and have not got that opportunity to have access to formal education or skill building? And can our programs basically help them recognize their skills formally, or help them build their skills which would make them employable So Godrej cannot employ everybody. There's a limitation, but you can certainly make a person employable, or a person who can generate his or her own personal income through the skills. And today you have a lot of gig economy going on, so all these skills are basically helping people to do that. And so the skill sets that we chose was all those which would serve our products in the market. So for example, our 14 businesses, so our appliance business probably was looking at air conditioning technician, a refrigerator technician, a washing machine technician, a microwave technician, so on and so forth. So who would be able to service not only Godrej products, but the entire ecosystem's products. We were looking at construction skills like a plumber, a mason, a carpenter, which can serve not only our real estate, but it can serve our interior or our furniture business as well, in servicing, our furniture products. Then we were looking at a lock technician in terms of installation of locks, repairing of locks, so on and so forth. Likewise, we have also looked at one of our product is material handling trucks. So we have also done skill building for women to drive material handling trucks. So looking at, all of the skill areas, one of the interesting program was actually help people who have hearing challenges, deaf, and people who have challenge for hearing, help them actually serve our vending machines as servicing persons, integrate different sections of society, people who would want to be part of the ecosystem and benefit from it while serving our various products. So likewise, we have identified many skills in all our for all our businesses. We have supported vocational training institutes in terms infrastructure building, in terms of capacity building. We have also done programs on the project sites for construction projects, or our interior projects for skill building on those, and recognizing skills, formally recognizing those skills as per the National Skill Development Council's requirements, and a slightly higher skill building with the ITIs of different areas. Now we are also looking at advanced skills like drone technology, or you're looking at more of a computer generated based skills, so on and so forth. Our endeavor is to at least have 6 times social return on investment from our investments on social uh, aspects, or skill building and community development. And how do we multiply that returns for each individual as they take up these programs? And that's where the Disha program is. Disha is basically the skill development program I'm talking about. And we have been engaging many youths on this. I think by the end of the decade, we had actually trained over a lakh and around lakh and 40,000 odd youths on various skills. So I think it's a kind of an endeavor which is basically benefits both. It benefits the organization for its product service. It benefits the community to make them employable, to make them skilled, and generate their own employment. And that's how the Disha program runs, along with our community development program under the CSR verticals of Godrej and Vice.
Wonderful, Tejashree. Can I say that your Disha program is giving Disha to a lot of youth today?
Certainly, I think the whole the name Disha itself is to to give a very specific kind of a direction for people who would
Direction
want to take
not
it.
only for unemployed youth, but you said for different sections, including uh, differently able people, which is remarkable. You are not only engaging the community, but you're setting up skilling centers through those vocational centers, uh, giving employment opportunities to those who lack skills to be employed, uh, inclusion. Uh, and diversification as well is wonderful, which supports the overall objectives of the company and give direction to the youth, the younger generation today is really very nice to see. With that, I think thank you so much, Tejashree. I can go on speaking about Godrej and asking a lot of questions, but we have a time limitation, and I'm sorry, I'll have to take this down. And thank you so much for being with us today. I'm glad that Godrej took out time to share the initiatives that you are doing, the name that is popular to the Indian families, and the objectives behind running the company sustainably. Thank you very much, Tejashree, for joining us today.
Thank you, Shalini. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about our small effort on sustainability. And, it only can spread the more we share our experiences and learnings. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you.